Hey creatives, welcome back to my channel. Today it is that time of the year where we set up my bullet journal for the second half of 2023. As you can see, I have quite a couple of pages left in my B5 notebook therapy journal, but I felt the need to change things up. I find myself not using my notebook as much as I would like to in 2023, and most of that is because of the size. So I decided to make a drastic change and I got myself this cute little avocado and spice bullet journal, which comes in the size A6, also referred to as a pocket bullet journal, I guess. Well, when I make changes, I tend to make them really drastic. I could have gone back to an A5 notebook, but well, honestly, I wanted to try something new. And I thought maybe this new size would motivate me to use my journal more, to take it with me and yeah, get myself a fresh new start and get back to bullet journaling as I like to. Here you see me comparing the sizes, which is a big change for sure. I will have to find new ways to set up layouts and I'm excited for that. Also, this notebook is even smaller than my phone, and so I hope that I will carry it around more and that it will be a companion for my life now. So yeah, let's zoom in a bit more so that you can actually see what I will be doing in this setup. To be honest with you, I did not really plan out the design for this setup a lot. I had a bit of an idea, but the supplies that I wanted to be using are still on their way towards me and I couldn't wait any longer. I have planned the setup for so long, and with planned I mean what pages do I want to include, how should they look, all that stuff. And that got me so excited that I just wanted to do the setup and not think about it any longer, because I felt that these thoughts were cramping up my head extremely. The first thing I wanted to do was something that I already did in my old journal, and that is a system that works quite well for me, which is having a grid spacing guide on the left inside cover of the journal. And as you can see, I sketched most of the things before so that I will minimize the mistakes I might make throughout the setup. This time I tried to keep the grid spacing guide a bit more simple, which is a bit inspired by the original bullet journal notebook, which has a grid spacing guide on the inside cover as well, and it just shows you the measurements in this kind of lines instead of a whole grid. I'm not sure if that makes sense. I hope you see what I mean when the page is finished. The other thing I add to the grid spacing guide is my key. I just don't see the use for setting up a whole page for my key, but I also still like to include it to my journal, since, you know, when looking back to your journal a couple years later, it might be good to know what the signs mean. As well as sometimes I like to make little changes, like for example, I added the asterisk sign for marking inspirational thoughts or ideas that I want to not forget or find more easily in my notes. And that is a bit different from the original bullet journal method key. I also have a different symbol for, I think, events and for when I finish tasks. But yeah, that is a great thing about bullet journaling. You can just customize it as much as you need and do things that make sense for you, instead of keeping up with something that someone else set up and then you figure things aren't working for you. In the beginning of the setup, I chose to use these little stamps, which I think I got from Wish. They are incredibly annoying to work with for my liking, because you can click them together and so you store them like that, and getting the piece you need is incredibly annoying for me as an impatient person. But I do like the look that they give, since they're pretty small. However, the first try stamping the key didn't work out super well, but that's okay. I was able to kind of fix it. And after the whole grid spacing key page was finished, I put my handy glue tape on it to stick it into the inside cover of the bullet journal. Another thing I wanted to do this time was to try out something new that I saw Elizabeth from Plant-Based Bride do, and she glued a flip out page into the inside of her journal, which was dedicated towards ADHD help. And surprise, since I am on the side of having ADHD as well, I wanted to create something similar with a few things that might help me in different situations. However, I thought if it is a flip out, the side that is gonna be the cover of it, like the blank page on the other side of the ADHD help spread, would look a bit plain. So I decided to put my word of the year onto that spread. That is something I have done in my previous bullet journal as well. I had a word of the year, or more like a sentence of the year, and put it on my cover page. So this is kind of the first part of the cover page we're creating for this journal. And I wanted to stick to my word/sentence of the year, which is believe in yourself. I think that has helped me incredibly well in the first half of the year, and I'm always surprised what a huge impact something like that, a little intention that you set at the beginning of a year, can have to your life. Like, even if you don't look at that all the time, it feels like it's still there subconsciously and plays a role in your day-to-day life. And after finishing the word of the year and the lettering of the belief in yourself, I was thinking about how I can decorate my journal a bit more. I mean, for sure I did that before as well. I put a few things that I wanted to use, and I mostly went with a few washi tape stickers and washi tapes from the washi tape shop and Stationery Pal, as well as with some clear stamps that I believe I also got from Stationery Pal, as well as from my local creative store. Yeah, and so I would say what I came up with is a bit like a vintage scrapbooking theme, I think. But I mean, why label things? It just looks nice. I like how it turned out. And then all that was left doing was to fold the little side of the sheet of paper to tape it into the notebook cover, so that I can flip it out and see it whenever and wherever I needed to. The idea behind it is that whenever I feel like I'm feeling low on dopamine, overwhelmed, or if I'm getting stuck with getting productive, that I can flip to this flip out page and get some inspiration for things to do. Because even if you sometimes know what would help you, it's sometimes really hard to do the things that would actually help you. So yeah, that's the first page of the journal. We're moving on to the cover page. To the cover page part 2, I would say. And I decided to use some paper scraps from Stationery Pal as a nice background to cover up a bit of these bare feet. I'm not sure what the correct word would be. I mean, they're cute, but not really my jam, I would say. So yeah, I ripped the paper into 2 halves and then glued them into the top left corner and the bottom right corner. And yeah, just decorated the page a little bit so that it looks nice and to set like the vibe for the notebook. I have a tendency for never really writing my name into my journals. Also, I don't add any contact information because I just don't feel the need to. My journal does not travel so much, and I think and hope, knock on wood, that I won't get into the situation of losing my notebook. So yeah, the first page for me is either a cover page, or in this case I just added the year and that it is part 2. So my second notebook, so that when flipping through my journals in a couple of years, I still know what journal am I flipping through. And even though I was waiting and hoping for some new ordered stationery supplies to be usable in the setup, I'm quite happy with how it turned out anyways. I do have a bit of a shopping problem, especially when it comes to stationery and art supplies, that I think I need something new all the time. But this setup actually showed me that you can create something really nice with things that you already have, and that you can repurpose things and use them in different ways than you used to do, and create something new and exciting. So don't feel the pressure to buy something new for every new setup or every new month in your bullet journal. If you're even creating your bullet journal creatively, you can just use things that you already have and still create amazing things that make you feel happy when you look at them. And that's exactly what happened with this cover page, with this journal in general, and I'm so happy how it turned out. Yeah, that I guess some new stationery would have not made it any better at all. Before we're moving on into the actual journal spreads, I glued together this awkward first page because I just think it's annoying, it's not serving any purpose, it doesn't open really, so I glue it together. That's what I like to do. And the first practical spread we're setting up is fairly simple. It is my index. I forgot to do that in my last bullet journal and I regretted it immediately. I don't know why I thought I wouldn't need my index. I thought it was just an optional thing that I would not really use. But after a couple of weeks, I realized that I missed it a lot. What I did then was adding page numbers to the Notebook Therapy journal because it doesn't come with some. And I glued in a piece of paper in the beginning between my cover page and grid spacing guide to function as the index, but that was really wobbly and doesn't really look nice. It doesn't really feel nice writing into that. So learning from that, I need an index, I need to add it. Even if the journal doesn't come with numbered pages, I will add all the numbers of the pages and put them into my index because I find it really useful to have the table of contents and know where I can flip to find something easily. Yeah, long story short, we're setting up the index. We do that very simply by adding a header and a little bit of decoration, and that's it. Next up is my future log, another very simple layout in this setup. And I tried something new this time because I printed out these mini calendars, which I created on my computer. I thought that if I write in the calendars all by myself, they would take up quite a lot of space. And I want to have more space to write down appointments, future events and tasks. The color of the printing paper does not really match the more yellow ivory color of my notebook, but I thought I'd throw away my perfectionism for at least one time to make things easier for myself. And the setup is just really, really minimalistic and simple. We have the mini calendars, heading and a line next to the month. And that's it, no decoration, nothing else, just a very functional spread because that's what the future log is for me, nothing more. And if you're new to bullet journaling and you're not exactly sure what a future log is, I think there are several ways to use it. I think in the original bullet journal method, the future log is for logging events and tasks that do not belong into the current month. And because you don't set up all months in advance, usually you would probably need a space for these future events every now and then. So that's the general explanation. I think a lot of people do mix their future log with a digital calendar or just use it for birthdays or whatever. And I think that's just like with everything else in the bullet journal. You have to figure out what works for you, how you need it, and what serves you best. I really use my future log a lot for appointments. As I said, I did not take my past bullet journal to appointments to schedule next appointments, like for example when you go to the dentist or anything. but I do write everything in there that comes up. Like whenever I make a new appointment, for example at the dentist, I would first write it in my Google Calendar at the dentist and then write it into my bullet journal. Seems a little bit double, but I mean, that works for me. I really do need to write things down 1 or 2 times so that I don't forget them. And I look into my bullet journal regularly and have the overview of things that are going on and that will come up in the future. And that is something I do not really do with my Google Calendar a lot. So it's important for me to have everything in the future log. But if you're fine with just putting your appointments in your Google Calendar, then why change a winning team, right? As you can see, I got a bit tired of using the stamps, so I tried to imitate the look of the stamps with my Tombow Fudenosuke. I'm still not sure how to pronounce that properly. And it worked out well. The only downside to this journal is that the pages bleed and ghost a bit more than I thought. I watched a review of the avocado inspired journal and it looked pretty fine to me since the pages are 120 GSM, but my pens ghost a bit. They sometimes bleed a little bit, but that's okay. Sometimes you have to make a compromise with something, and I think that is totally fine. We're moving on to my first goal spread, which is again another very simple layout. I wanted to create some sort of like a mind map way so that I can keep adding things throughout the second half of the year, since that was something I missed in my past journal, where I set up like fixed boxes, wrote in the goals, and then I had no space to add any new ones, which is kind of important, I think. We have 4 different sections here, the first one being personal, then some work goals, some long-term goals, which is a pretty undefined time frame, I guess, and the last one is being my maybe someday section. I had that in my previous journals as well, and I like that quite a lot for things that come up in my mind, some ideas that could be goals but I'm not sure about yet, so that I can check in with them after some time and see if they are still relevant and should be tackled, or if they can remain as a maybe, but not really. I kept the decoration on the spread pretty minimal because I want to focus on the goals and not on the decoration part. So I just added something in the bottom right corner to just give a little bit of interest to this spread. Next up is another goals page or spread. We are working on my quarterly goals for the last 2 quarters of 2023, and just saying that sounds insane. Like, I just can't believe where the time is going, like how? And again, that is very simple. I added the heading in the middle and then the 2 quarters at the top and below that. You see what I mean? And divided the page with a little line. And then on the other page, I set up something new. I'm not exactly sure if I ever did that. Maybe I did that in a journal long time ago. And it is the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 goals page, which is inspired by the bullet journal method. And if you're asking yourself why is she talking about that so much in this video, it's because I read the book at the moment and I got quite inspired by it. So in the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 method, you set up 5 columns, I think it's columns, right? 5 spaces to write down your goals for the next 5 years, 4 months, 3 weeks, 2 days and 1 hour. And I find that quite an interesting system. It is supposed to help you clarify what is really important to you and what is the bigger picture you're working towards too. And so yeah, I hope that will help me to get a bit of clarity about my goals and what I really want to achieve. And yeah, I'm just curious if that page is gonna work for me, if that is a system I want to keep, or if it's just a one-time use and then realizing it doesn't really work for me. We'll see. I keep you updated on that, I guess. After we're done with my goals pages, it's time for another essential in my bullet journal setup, and we're keeping that quite minimal again. This is gonna be my mental and physical health spread, which is like a table including all times when I did not feel my best, and that could be mentally or physically. So for that, we are setting up the table, which includes a checkbox for if it's mental or physical, then a description and the symptoms that I am tracking. After that, we have space for like the possible reason, and then also if I got treatment, what I did to get better. I also forgot that I add the date, which makes sense. This spread is supposed to be helpful when I'm going to the doctor, if I have something reoccurring that needs to be tracked and that I'm not exactly sure why that is happening. And in the past, it has definitely been helpful to identify things, like when I had reoccurring belly aches and went to the doctor, I could say it happened then, and then I have it when I eat this and that, and she was able to tell me what the issue was. And also with mental things, I find that important because, you know, mental health is important, and if you struggle with something, it might also be helpful to track when things happen and when you feel certain things. So yeah, we're leaving that as simple as that and not adding any more decoration or anything. It should just be a very functional spread. As well as the next ones, which are my cleaning tracker and my financial overview. In my last journal, I had a when did I last spread, and it didn't work at all. I think the issue that I had with it was that it was pretty open. Like I would have the months and the days of the month, and then I would have a little key with things that I want to track. But that didn't really give me the sign of taking action, if you know what I mean. It would be like, oh, I changed the bed sheets today, I should add that to my when did I last page. But well, that happened like 3 or 4 times and not more than that. But since I struggle quite often with getting myself to cleaning properly and keeping on top of my cleaning responsibilities that you might have as an adult person, I thought I might try something else to get me a bit more taking action on the things I need to do. So the setup is kind of the same idea. You have the months on the right side, and then on the left side I have a space for the room and the tasks that go with it. Like in the room I would not add anything, but I would write the tasks underneath the room section to tell myself, oh, in the living room you should clean the pillows and the blankets on the sofa. Stuff like that, so that I can check in with that every now and then and see, I should be doing this maybe because I haven't done that in a long time. And the idea is to motivate me more, to give me something very visible of things that I need to do. Next to that is my financial overview, and I had the overview in my last journal as well, and I also tried to track my finances, which did not go well. Like, I'm just not good at that, and I know maybe I should be, but I just can't get myself to do it, and what's the point then to put it in your journal? But I find it quite practical to have an overview about my actual income and my fixed expenses, as well as on some expenses that come up every now and then that I usually don't really have on my mind. So just a page where I can check how much money do I have, what do I have to pay, and what do I have to be aware of would be an upcoming cost in the future. And by the way, if you are speaking English and sometimes wondering what am I writing here, my journal is bilingual. Is that a word? Like, I often switch between English and German, and it's just how my mind works. I sometimes think in English, I sometimes think in German, probably because I speak a lot of English in my daily life, since my boyfriend's from New Zealand and we only speak Jinglish English together. So yeah, I think a lot in English, but some things I express better in German, so it's a very wild mix in my journal. and that's okay, I guess. After the most practical spreads in my journal, we're moving on to 2 things, or actually 4, I guess, that I kind of missed in my old one. And the first page is gonna be my wish list and some gift ideas. That's self-explanatory, right? However, I want to add this again, mostly the wish list, because as I said, I have a bit of a shopping problem. I often do like impulsory spending, and that is not really good since I should not be doing that. So yeah, I hope that this will prevent this a little bit. And after finishing the video, I also added like a little piece of paper above the wish list where I wrote down some questions to ask myself before spending money, so that hopefully I get a bit better at putting things in my wish list and waiting on them before spending my money immediately whenever something pops up in my head that I might want. And yeah, the gift ideas are pretty self-explanatory, just a space for write down ideas for presents when birthdays are coming up or Christmas, so that hopefully I will have a bit of an idea in advance and maybe can even get a few gifts before Christmas season comes up. But let's be realistic here, I guess that's not gonna happen really. And on the other page I have some space to write down some date night ideas with my boyfriend and some travel plans or ideas, because these are things that are constantly coming up in my mind, and then I write them randomly in my journal and always forget where they are, and I just want to have a separate spread for those. On the next spread I just have a lot of space for YouTube ideas, and that's it. I will be probably mostly writing down YouTube video ideas here because I have a lot of them, and I know that a lot of them don't make it to the channel, but that's okay. And maybe some other things that might come up, like recently I created a Patreon page. Oh yeah, I created a Patreon page. Before you think, oh no, I'm not gonna pay for that, it's free. Because I suck at creating regular content and I don't want to have the pressure to keep up with that and disappoint people who pay money to get something and then I don't deliver. So I wanted to have a space where I can write down summaries of my YouTube videos and share some freebies, like my free journal guide, and you can already find a couple of stickers there. So yeah, if you're interested in that, hop over to Patreon. It's free. You can just browse through my stuff and hopefully you find something you like there. The link is in the description. And the last spread that we are setting up are my monthly memories. I somehow managed to always set up a full year in my first half of the year journal, but then just having it filled in halfway through the year. But I don't want to go back to my old notebook every single month to fill in the last month. So I need to have a new spread of that in my notebook. And this is what we're doing here. To kind of finish the setup, I wanted to decorate this page a little bit more. For this, I got back to the paper scraps again and a few stamps and stickers. However, the layout is simple. I just divided each page into 3 columns so that I have one for each month and that I can write my highlights of the month and some memories that I really want to quickly go back to whenever I flip through my old journals in there, and maybe I also might add some pictures in the future, who knows. So with that, we are coming to the end of this video. Before we go to the final flip through, I would like to say that I will not add all the supplies that I've been using to my info box anymore, because I find that this is just a task that keeps me away from doing videos actually, because that is such an effort for me and that is annoying and not really having a real purpose for me. I try to mention everything that I use in my videos, and of course if you have any specific questions, just write them in the comments and I would definitely answer them and send you the actual product. But I feel that that is just something that is putting pressure on me, a lot of effort, and that is keeping me away from creating the content that I would like to create. So yeah, make things easier for yourself. You don't have to make it so complicated. I just wanted to let you know. And with that being said, we are at the final flip through, and I hope that you enjoyed this video. I hope that it gave you some inspiration and ideas. Yeah, let me know how you like it. If you have any questions, just write them in the comments. I will get back to you. And yeah, I hope you're having a good time. I hope you're having a good second half of the year, and we see us in my next video. Oh, and if you like what I'm doing, make sure that you subscribe to my channel, give this video a like. That helps me a lot, not even with YouTube and visibility, but also with my own personal motivation. Alright, see you in my next video. Bye.